YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, what we're going to go through today is we've got the Hobbywing Wi-Fi Express Wi-Fi dongle, and that's going to connect to the max10 ESC we've got in the slash. So, let's show you how you get that connected. So basically, where your fan plugs in, that's where the Wi-Fi Express module is going to connect. And what you need to do is unplug the fan connector. So sometimes you find it easier if you unplug them two motor connections. And then carefully wiggle the fan connector out. And then you can plug your motor connections back in. And then you want the Wi-Fi Express dongle, and you've got the black negative wire. You want that closest to your center motor pin, and you just plug it in, and you can just pop that down anywhere you like. Just make sure your little Wi-Fi antenna don't get sucked into your fan. So next thing we're going to have to do is we want to be connected to the Wi-Fi on here. So power up your RC. You don't need your radio gear on, and you'll see the red light on there. And then you want to start the Hobbywing app, so make sure you've got that on. Then you want to go to your Wi-Fi settings, and you're going to be looking for the name of your Wi-Fi adapter. Now there is standard settings. I've configured mine, so I'll put a video up so you can see what I'm doing on the phone. So you choose your Wi-Fi adapter, and then it'll say connected, no internet. Now what you may get at this point, you may get a warning come up on your phone saying no internet connection on that Wi-Fi, do you want to stay connected? If you do get that, press yes, else it'll constantly kick itself back off and go back on your own Wi-Fi. Now, you press the connection up on the top of the app, and that'll say connected. Then we can go into parameters. Now this will load the settings for the ESC that you're currently connected to. So what I like to do is, if you go into rename, and that'll give your profile a name, so you know if you've got multiple cars, you'll know which one you're connecting to. So as first setting is the forward and brake, or forward brake and reverse. Forward brake and reverse is the stock setting for it. LiPo cells, you can either, if you know you're only going to run it on 3S or 4S, you can select it. Or auto calculation, when you turn the ESC on, you'll hear it beep out the number of cells that it's running. Low voltage cutoff, I'm going to have that run on intermediate. Then the next is the ESC's thermal protection. Now I wouldn't advise upping this unless you really got a reason to do it. But stock is 105, so I'd leave it at that. And again, on this setup, you've actually got not a sensored motor, it's a sensorless, but it does have a temperature sensor from the ESC to the motor, so it can monitor the electric motor temperature. You can disable that, but again, I'll leave it on 105 just to be safe. Your next setting down is the clockwise or counterclockwise, so it's working okay as it is, so I'll leave it on counterclockwise. Now the next setting we've got down from that is the BEC voltage. Now because I've got rid of all the Traxxas radio gear in this, and the lap monitor, the servo we've got fitted, and the receiver in this can all handle 7.4 volts, so I'm going to up the ESC to 7.4 volt. Now brake force, as stock it's set on 75%. I'm running 50% because it seems to work out good with the way I drive this, but you can set that to whatever you like. You've got the reverse force, you can either have 50 or 25% reverse. I'm going to leave mine on 50. Punch mode, stock is level 3, so I'm going to stick it back on that. I've been playing around with it. And then drag brake is basically when you let off the throttle, it will make a brushless motor behave more like a brushed motor, where you've got motor drag without applying the brake. If you want it to free roll, leave it on 0. But once you've done all this, you can then save your profile, and it'll ask you if you want to save these parameters. That will then save it, and then you've got the small icon with the chip in the top, and that's where you can have a look at the firmware version that is actually on your ESC at the moment, and it'll tell you what model it's seen as the hardware. So once you've pressed save, that's it sent to the ESC. To get it to implement that, you power it off and back on. The other thing you can do is, if you press export, you can actually export it as a picture or a file. So then you give it a name. Press save, and that'll export it to your phone. So if you do want to put it on this car, or say one of your friends have bought a car, or you buy another car and you want it set up identical, you can just import that setting and it'll save all your settings and then export it straight back. Now, what else we can do on this, if you want to make sure that those settings have stuck, so if you power off, and then you'll lose the link to it, power back on, and you want to keep an eye on your Wi-Fi settings. If it doesn't connect back to it automatically, you can then go into your Wi-Fi settings, search for it, and then let it reconnect. So on mine it's reconnected automatically to it. Then you click back on the chain at top, which is the link. You go back in, and it's now loading up the actual parameters that have saved to the ESC. So you can see that the 7.4 volt and the punch mode, that's all saved to it. So we know we're all good on that. One last thing that's a little bit awkward on this software if you're using the Wi-Fi dongle. So basically what you need to do is, I find it easier to turn your Wi-Fi off so you're on your mobile connection, and then you can go to settings and then about, and it will, if you click on these, it'll check and say current firmware is updated. It is worth doing that. If you've not used it for a while, it'll just check the database and see if there's new firmware available for your ESC. What you do then, if we turn the Wi-Fi back on, and we connected back to the dongle, so we can connect, and then what you can do is go to firmware update, and it'll tell you if a new firmware is available for it, and you can list the current or the previous firmware, because they will let you downgrade it. But that is basically how we set up the ESC. Then all you need to do is disconnect it from your phone, put your phone back on your normal Wi-Fi, and then you've got fully disconnected, so you can close your app down and then power off the ESC. And once you've got that powered off, then you just need to disconnect the Wi-Fi dongle, put that somewhere safe because they're only small and they're easy to lose, and you may find it easier to unplug the motor wires for this, but then you just want to plug your fan back in, and again your negative for your fan goes to the closest to the center or yellow pin on your motor. motor wire to your ESC. So just remember your negative one is the one closest to the centre at ESC. They are marked on the ESC, but they're black and pretty small, so you might struggle seeing them. But that's basically how we set up the ESC using the Wi-Fi Express dongle. And then we got nice fast servo action, and you should be able to check, make sure your motor rotation and everything's right, your brake and reverse. But thanks again for watching WTF Rc Cars. Hope you find this video useful or entertaining at least. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys again in the next one.